Welcome to my channel. Before going to bed, watch the survival challenge episode Build a Tent by Hand in the Cold Snowy Forest. It's a blessing for late night insomniacs. After watching, I guarantee you can step into your dream beautifully. First you subscribe to the channel for a TU and send your love in the comments below. Okay, hurry up and get your phone with about 72% battery and find the most comfortable position to lie down in. Let's enjoy this decompression process together. When the outdoor temperature reaches minus 20 degrees, Drew appeared alone in this wild land. Although I don't know why. But the top priority is to build a shelter from the cold. To reduce the time required to build shelters, he was going to make good use of the slope in front of him. After clearing all the branches hinted above, you can start excavating the slope. Fortunately, the dry soil did not become frozen soil. It's not hard to get him to dig up, and digging is the only obstacle. It's a tree root embedded in the soil, but in the end, he still successfully completed the excavation of the foundation. After doing this, the next step is to collect the building materials. The abundant deadwood resources of winter forests, so Drew doesn't have to worry about collecting logs, and for the sake of the sanctuary looking a little more aesthetically pleasing, he used a leopard to remove the skin. After gathering into the appropriate length, can move back to the camp. Drew then dug a hole in the ground. Then the log is inserted as a stand. You can see that the end of the log he sawed into a bevel. The roof built later in this way will make the humanoid structure. After tightening the chicken pit tightly, then bring in the logs. These logs are thicker than a thigh. Drew also had to sit down and take a break, and then continues to complete the anchor of the submerged wall columns. He also used a stick to ensure that the bevel was transplanted hard to lay the foundation. And the next thing to do, just to flatten one side of the log, but the lack of a chainsaw. So all he could do was use an axe to level it off little by little. Fortunately, in the end, the finished product and the column slope can be perfectly combined. And Drew did exactly that. Shoot the other half of the door as well. So far, the small family has already had a promising future. So he worked harder and harder. Continue to shape the log foreskin. One end is erected on the soil slope. The other end is erected in the middle of the door head. Seriously, he shakes it? Test robustness. It's obvious from his body language. I knew he was satisfied with it. It's just that people can't be happy too early. The trembling of his legs and feet almost made him lose his big teeth. It seems that in the follow-up work, he has to be extra careful. In the blink of an eye, the traces of blood became much heavier. To accelerate the construction of shelters, remaining beams for the roof, he wasn't circumcised, just chop grooves on it. Make sure that the beams can be firmly connected. After he made the columns to support the log cabin, and then the walls of the hut, stacked with logs at the bottom of the foundation pit wall, and so on, stacking up. And then you get all the pieces of the wall. And for places where the size is not suitable, and Drew uses the stick as a reference, saw off the excess of the log. It is very suitable to place it on again. Drew uses logs that are thicker than a thigh. Although the process of stacking up will cost him a lot strength, they're made of very thick walls. It can withstand the severe cold outside very well. Finally, it took 2.5 hours. He had just finished the last log in the wall. Finally, he collected many slender pieces of wood, ready to be used as roof tiles. However, before setting up, also reserve a smoke outlet first to facilitate the fireplace to exhaust smoke. Then shoot the roof nails with iron nails. And the final piece of the puzzle that makes up the roof. It must be waterproof to protect against wind and rain, laying on the roof, and then it's covered with mud to prevent being blown away by high winds. After Drew finished laying the roof, at this time, there is no cold wind cleaning in the house, and then finally, some shorter logs. Seal the part of the front wall and shoot it up, because the front wall blocks most of the snow. So there can be no large gaps between the logs. Therefore, for logs that are not the right size, and get rid of the excess, hit firmly with a hammer. And when he was done, he brought in a basin of snow, intended to fill the gaps between, but I tried for a long time. Snow will fall naturally, So he gathered a sack of strings, the gap between the screens, to stop the cold wind from blowing into the shelter. Drew then used the remaining logs, solid wood flooring for the interior, so that even if the footsteps bring in the snow, melted by the warmth of the room, it won't cause the ground to become muddy. After this is done, I plan to make the door of the shelter first. For making door panels for gates, be sure to repair it very evenly with a leopard. This will ensure the practicality and beauty of the door. There is some deviation in the size of the door panel that is not set, just needs a little leveling with an axe. The door can be tightly sewn with the door frame. Finally, use the lotus leaf to connect. So far, the entire outside of the shelter is done. Now the road can finally return to the warm interior. Open up the previously reserved exhaust port. After he has successfully installed the exhaust pipe, Drew also chopped some dry wood. Cold winter. Have enough dry wood is to have enough security. Now he can finally light a warm fire. Small space. Believe it won't be long. The room will warm up quickly. It's still early. Drew brought in some more logs. The nails are shot on the wall as a bed frame. Then you just lay the logs on top, used as a bedboard. Finally, put on a soft yoga mat. You get a comfortable single bed. Now Drew can finally be in the warm cabin. Take a good rest. When I saw Drew again, he has bought some from his hometown for the winter. Required equipment. He found snow between the doors. This gives Drew a bad feeling. The first thing to open the door. Just rush to check the situation in the house. Fortunately, except for a little frost on the ceiling, nothing else unusual. But as far as the eye can see, there is frost. This means that the insulation performance of the hut is not perfect. Did this give Drew a real demonstration? Fortunately, this time he specially bought a brand new closing, although it cost him a lot of budget at the time. But fortunately, its high combustion efficiency, it can continuously provide warmth to the interior. Drew also fetched for logs. Raise the fireplace more often. Let the popularity be released to the maximum extent. And the next thing to do, of course, it is draped with dry wood. Test the burning effect of a new fireplace. Drew's not slow. It didn't take long for him to put on a sled of dry wood. Some neat yards are placed in the indoor corner, and some to light a warm fireplace. As the firewood in the fireplace burns, the snow instantly melted into small water droplets while the house is warm. Drew came to the lake not far from home. The lake is covered with a thick layer. He smashed the ice with an axe several times. Just smashed it through. Drew roughly measured it with his finger. At least about 10 centimeters thick. If you have free time later, just enough to develop your own hobby of ice stone. But it's imperative. Still need to finish the rest of the pot. He was going to start by making a dining table for the cabin. It will be much more convenient to eat later, but to make the interior look less crowded. So he didn't make the table too big. He's going to install the dining table at the head of the bed, but before that, Drew will also stuff the cracks in the walls with thermal insulation cotton, because without these measures, cold temperature, it will cause the house to be covered with frost. It doesn't matter how much heat the fireplace produces. After Drew has done this, you can nail the table board to the wall. So a simple dining table is made. Appropriate height. It also makes people feel very comfortable. And Drew didn't stop. In order to maximize the use of indoor space, he also plans to install a few shelves on the wall, divide the arched plate in two, and then he used the stick. Saw some wooden nails. Just use the hole punch at this point. Punch holes in the wall. Then shoot the wooden ding torque up, in order to make the shelf more firmly placed. He also used charcoal from the fireplace as a marker. Carve marks on the pegs. Then you can use an axe to cut a hole in the shelf. The groove has a solid foothold in this way. Even if it's not fixed with nails, the shelves will also be firmer. After placing the pots and pans, keep all the dry wood neatly. And immediately it was a delight to the eye. Although the interior space is not large, but living in it is full of warmth. Busy at the moment, all day. Finally, you can start cooking oil. Start cooking today's dinner. Take advantage of this time. Drew picked out a small section of broken wood. It's going to make a spatula. This will be convenient to obtain when cooking. Wait for the potatoes to fry until they are slightly browned on both sides. Put the onions in and saute. And finally, we cut into some mushrooms. By this time, the aroma of the food has filled the whole, a cramped wooden house. Drew's face was full. All happiness. Half an hour later, Drew, finally, in the wooden house I built with my own hands. Enjoy this delicious food. After eating and drinking, the level of physical comfort at the moment has reached the extreme. After not necessarily adding the last strand of dry firewood, Drew can't stand the sleepiness anymore. Gradually fall asleep. I woke up the next day. It's grey outside. He collected some clean snow on the ground. Put it on the fireplace, melt it, boil it. He also added some white sugar to soften the taste. Brew yourself a steaming cup of coffee. Sitting outside the gate, it seems to treat the entire forest as its own garden. Hospital. Thank you for watching the whole video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below to help the channel develop better, improve better videos.